What's up, guys? What's going on? Yeah, we are live. Let's see if I can twist this in. What an honor and a blessing and a pleasure it is to have my brother Steve E. Corbett. Just making sure I'm live and we're recording. We got 4 different screens now. This feels pretty cool.
It does feel cool. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, and we could, if we wanted to, get 5 and 6 going, but hey,
enough is enough. Well, welcome, guys. This is a pleasure to have my friend here. I've known this guy for years now, and it's crazy to think how our beginnings began. Where we all started from. I just want to I just want to give you so much love, and I want to make sure I get this introduction right, because this has been friendship in the making. You've always inspired me. Even when we got a chance to first meet, there was just so much love in this guy, and he was like, oh, I was even to the point where we were going to move in together. We were going to build our business together. Like, this is a brother for life. And, things ended up taking a different turn in my life. I ended up meeting Sally, fell in love with her, and I moved to the island instead.
wow.
So it was crazy to think that it would have either been this guy or Sally, and I'm glad I picked Sally because, but you're friends for life, and we've done things like Toastmasters together. We built our business from the penthouse together. You remember that? Like, we were steel sharpened steel together. We've lost friends together. This feeling of us like knowing that we're brothers for life, and through our paths, he's gotten really good at what he does, and you're gonna see it. That's why I'm like, dude, I want to film this. I want to make sure we got this. Usually, I like to go for about 60 minutes, but today we're probably gonna end up moving this more into the 90-minute range. So if you don't have the patience for this, I appreciate you, but hop in from where you need it and what you got, and trust me, this will be something that you're not gonna forget. Steven is a massive, absolute, powerful inspiration to me, and he's doing big things. He's doing real big things. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. We steal, as they say, steel sharpens steel, brothers from another mother. Through our paths, I found numerology, right? And we built this over an enagic business. So in case anybody doesn't know, we provide amazing water for people and an unbelievable a business opportunity to change your life and to absolutely grow. And this is the best thing you'll ever have in your kitchen counter, and also inside of your wealth strategy. So if you don't know, now you know. It's amazing. And so this is how we connected. But over time, he finds God, spirituality. He finds coaching, consulting, leadership. I find the same thing through numerology and my own spiritual path. So we ended up growing through stages in our lives. And to think, did you ever think it would come to this, where we'd be sitting in my office having a conversation like this? Like, it's so strange to think, because back in the day, we weren't on that track. We were in a completely different space. So, come time now, I've learned numerology. I put the E in his name. So, I got Steve E. Corbett with us, right? Like, this is a friend of mine, and now I'm working his energy with him throughout his life inside of his name for, social media, for business, for life. And he felt the zap. He's like, nah, I like this. This is a good name. This is the one that makes me actually feel powerful. And it had a magnetism to it. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that we sorted you the right name. When chance came that you were going to come to the island, I'm like, oh, you have to be here. It's going to be a massive amount of content. The conversations we've been having over the last day and a half, it's inspired Sally and I. You've grown us quite a bit in just the small things you say in the book you recommended, and I was super excited to let you rip on my audience, to let you absolutely download the good word. I consider you like a preacher or pastor or someone who's speaking the good word. Like, even the prayer, that we went through this morning. I'm not kidding, guys. This guy is a spiritual conduit of God love and God light. And it's an honor to have you here, bro. I appreciate you being on my stage, to be here inside of my studio, to actually do this. You guys are in for the most massive amount of value. And I want to set this up. I really want to set this up. Today's a 6th day, okay? We're in a 6th month. It's a 6th day inside of numerology. And inside of that, there's long-term generation, long-term wealth. There's a value of long-term family, of lineage and growth and like powerful love that comes in towards a day like today. So yesterday we had a really powerful one with Francesca, if you guys watched that. But today now it's my time zone. We're here on the 6th. We're here to do some massive healing. And this guy's middle name is Michael. that is also a Master 6 name. So we know that this guy's going to be speaking from the center of his soul. This is going to be like the most powerful conversation you've had to date, man. I promise you. Like you're on the call right now. Like you've been called by God. You've been called by the universe to inspire people, because people are going to listen to this. You're going to change someone's life with this. You're absolutely going to get someone into a better place because of what you're about to share with them. And I wanted to download this as a training. You guys can take notes on this. I'm going to ask him some pretty important questions about how he does his process and who he is. So we got some things on the board where we will freestyle this. So I hope that we get through all of this in the time, because once you get this guy going, trust me, you're going to want to take notes. I'm going to be putting this on my YouTube. I will have this on all my channels, so you can watch this later. But this is one you're going to be like, I'm watching this thing tonight. And I would probably suggest you're going to watch it over and over again. But I appreciate you guys for being here. Steve, man, welcome to the Nanaimo. Welcome to the island. Like, it's
Thank you.
Absolutely blessed
I'd have to say, Bobby is a master edifier. Okay? And this goes back even, what's it been, like 5 years now?
Something like that.
Okay, so it's been 5 years. I remember meeting Bobby when I first moved back to North Vancouver. Man, dude, like, just to think, 5 years from now, you know what I mean? Like, think about where we were and think about where we are. Oh. And just to see Bobby grow, you know, as a friend, as a, you know, so, you know, just, I want to put this in there, and I want to leave something with you guys. I want to impress something into your mind. You know, your story, you know, all the things that you've been through, that has gotten you up to this point right now, at this day, on Thursday, wherever it could be right now in the world, but you're watching this right now. Think about all the things that happened in your story that are cultivating you into the person that you are now. You see, a lot of the times, Bobby and I were having this conversation. We were having this conversation at breakfast about our story and how it can play a ripple effect in the rest of our life, and why we don't accomplish a lot of the things we don't accomplish just for the simple fact that we get trapped in the past. Sure. We get trapped in the past experiences that, you know, maybe you had a couple setbacks, you had some failures, you had some things happen to you, but now you're in a position where you're thinking, hey, that's my reality and that's my circumstances. Yeah. Right? And a lot of the times we can let those scenarios defeat where we're going to go. You see, the best thing that can ever happen to you in life is for you to get clear on your past, for you to get clear on the things that happened to you, and to know that they didn't happen to you. They happened for you. They happened so that you can move to a next step, to a next level of what you want to manifest and create into your life. You see, when I met Bobby, you know, it was before he got involved in, you know, he's always been, you know, an open-minded thinker. He's always been a visionary. He's always had that heart. And when we got involved in, you know, let's say, for example, the adjustments of names. You see, when I was born Stephen Michael Corbett. But the funny thing is about that name, it's like, it wasn't where I wasn't getting the result, you know, business-wise. And it wasn't until, you know, I had to get an adjustment. Just like you go to a chiropractor. Chiropractor is going to adjust you so the rest of the body is going to be in alignment. But the same thing happens with your name, too. So if your name is not in alignment with who you are, you see, there's an old story in the Bible that, you know, with Jacob. You know, Jacob, originally, that name means trickster. It means con man. It means somebody who's not serious, somebody who's going to snatch you out of your birthright. And that's exactly what he did. He did to his brother. He even took his birthright. You know, like he tricked his brother, his own brother, into being like, hey, Esau, why don't you trade me your birthright for a bowl of soup? And that's what he did, because he was hungry and he made a permanent decision over a temporary situation. Right? How many times can you look at your life right now and you can look at it in a situation where it's just like you've made a permanent decision over a temporary situation? You saw something that was like so bad. And like we look at like, and I know we're going to get deep on this call, but like we look at like the suicide rates. We look at people who are, you know, who are giving up, who are throwing in the towel on things. Why? Because they make a permanent decision over a temporary situation. Yeah. You know, things don't just things may come into your life, but they come to pass. You know what I'm saying? Because every single thing, one thing I've realized, man, and you're talking to a guy who's literally wanted to, like, that's it. I wanted to give up.
Sure.
But I pressed through, and I remember calling Bobby at a time where I was like, dude, Bobby, man, I don't know what I'm going to do, man. It's like, I literally went, I was doing a real estate career, and I remember, like, losing everything in the real estate career, and then I had to go back to doing a regular job. I'm thinking, what is going on with my life, man? This is crazy.
Yeah.
But you know what? I had to get an adjustment. Point I'm trying to make with this is we can let these things make us better, or we can make it bitter. And when we go through life bitter, we stop growing. We stop developing. We stop striving to being the best we can possibly be. Because you're here to make a difference. That's the facts. Mm-hmm. You're here to make a difference. You're here to make this world a better place, to encourage your brothers and sisters all over. Because can you not see how we're all connected? Mm-hmm. Even right now, we're speaking over a device. Could you not see that we're all connected? Could you not see that you're in the right place right now? That you're listening to my voice. You're listening to Bobby's voice. And you know, we're doing what we have to do, what we feel we're called to do. Because if we weren't doing this, we wouldn't be walking in our potential. We wouldn't be walking in our purpose. You see, the moment my life changed was when I started realizing my purpose. I started realizing I'm not here for me. I'm here for others. I'm here to be at service for people. And you know what the cool thing about being at service for people? If you help enough people get what they need, you'll always have you'll never have to worry about things.
You're truly an angel, bro. And I mean, even your middle name says angel, it's right hand to God. And you found spirituality in your life, and you found God in your life, and it's a magnetic force to watch you. I don't know if you guys figured this out or not, but he channels the information down. Like, he's speaking the good word, and it almost gives you this biblical experience to know that you're witnessing the power of God through your hand. And you gotta be dragged through the mud a little bit before you can.
You have to.
You know what I mean? Like, you gotta know what that shitty thing feels like in order to get to, you know. So I mean, we're not gonna drag our stories through the mud today, because this is a champion song, right?
This is, you know, here's the thing, and I'm gonna tell you something. It's not necessarily dragging it through the mud. You got to remember something here. When you dig a hole in the ground, right? You think about the dirt. You think about something that's like you're digging it deep, and you've got this seed, and you plant the seed in the ground. Well, what? You ask me something here. What is the natural environment where a seed actually flourishes?
In the ground.
In the ground, in a deep, dark, cold place.
Drowning.
Right? So here's the thing. Isn't this funny how, you know, God, you're like, whatever, I'm not stepping on the toes of anybody's belief here, okay? But the thing is, it's like, I believe you're created, okay? You're made wonderfully and fearfully made in the image of God. Like, seriously, that is the facts. You were created with a purpose. You've got this seed inside. Bobby, you've got this seed inside. You've got greatness inside. It's just waiting to be put in the right environment. Oh, and I've got a story for you guys today. So there was this guy. He went to Egypt, right? And they went to go and look at the tombs of King Tut. And they got this whole exhibit going on, and they're looking around, and he sees the chariot, he sees the tomb, he sees all that kind of stuff, right? But he sees these seeds. All right? He sees these seeds. And the tour guide said, those seeds are 4,000 years old. He said, wait a second. Those seeds are 4,000 years old? He's like, so those seeds have been sitting for 4,000 years? They said not only have they been sitting for 4,000 years, but they took those seeds and they took them back to Israel and they crossbred them with something, and they produced the largest yields of corn that anybody has ever seen. Think about that. A 4,000-year-old seed was planted, germinated, and it produced the largest crops that anybody's ever seen. The point I'm trying to make with that is your environment. Your environment is so powerful. And when we go through these difficult times in life and we get planted in the ground, people are throwing dirt on your name. People are throwing dirt. The finances are coming. Your car is getting repossessed. You're getting kicked out of your house. You're sleeping on the street. Your things are going bad. You're eating out of a dumpster. You're going at the lowest of the low. People are throwing dirt. You're embarrassed. You're walking through life. You're ashamed. That is all the stuff, all that manure, all that fertilizer, everything that's getting thrown on you is the catalyst for that seed to literally start ripping out of the shell and start growing all the way through all the dirt, all the crap. And now all of a sudden, guess what happens? Poof, out pops a little tiny seedling, a little sprout. And it starts growing. And eventually, that sprout is going to grow into a tree. And eventually, that tree is going to start bearing leaves. And eventually, that tree is going to bear fruit. But guess what? It's not about the fruit. And we get so focused on the fruit. But it's like we fail to see that it's not just the fruit. It's the seed inside of the fruit that produces more, that produces the forest. Mm-hmm. I heard a message, man. That was a message that was originally a message from Miles Monroe.
That's crazy.
And he's like, but I heard that, and I'm just like, oh man, I gotta share this with somebody. I gotta get this. I couldn't believe it, because isn't that what we do? Isn't that what we do? Is like, you know, as healers, as teachers, as mentors, as leaders, is we're like little bees. And all we do is we go from one flower, and we go to another flower, and then we go another flower, and then here we do. We come back to the hive, as where we are right now, and we're making the honey. And we're just giving it back, because that's what it's all about. Nature is all about giving back.
But you notice how 4,000 years inside of a tomb, inside of a throne, in where the king sits, and it's still not doing anything. Yeah. You have to go through the crap in life in order to actually grow. Yeah. You can't just sit next to God. He tells like, go forth, my son.
Well, that's the thing. And so it's like, and it's funny because Jesus gave a real good parable about the seed. And some, you know, fell on good ground. Some fell by the wayside. Some fell and the birds snatched the seed. Right? See, every single seed that you have, every dream that you have, every vision that you have to protect it. You have to cultivate it. You have to nourish it. But at the same time, you have to have discernment too. Because you have to know that there's other things that are going to snatch a seed. Yeah. And that's why I find, you know, the enemy, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes the enemy is inside of us. We are the ones that, like, you know, we're the ones going up. And that's why it's easier to snatch a seed than it is to chop down a tree. Because here's the thing, I can snatch a seed and I can kill your destiny. I could snatch your seed right out of you. You didn't even see it coming. You were young and you didn't even see it coming, but yet it got snatched. Because it's easier to snatch it than it is for you to actually grow into who you truly are.
Truth.
And now you grew into a strong tree where you got firm roots. Now you got, like, the winds come and that you ain't blowing over. And you know what the thing is? You're not getting snatched down. So think about how hard it is now to chop down a tree.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. And see, that's what happens in life. So yes, we're going to go through these dirty, muddy, crappy experiences, but yet that's the incubator for us to grow and develop. Does that make sense?
This is nuts, man.
Does that make sense?
Two things that I've noticed about you. One is that you've grown and you've changed so much. And the other is that you haven't changed, man.
No, but it's true, though.
That's absolutely power right there.
Because here's the thing. It's like, I think one thing that's important, like as we develop and as we, you know, we're encouraging other people, and we're stepping up and we're becoming influencers and we're changing the game and all that. I feel it's important to never really forget where you came from.
Absolutely.
Never forget where you came from. Never forget the challenge. Never forget the struggle. Never forget the arrogance. Never forget the cockiness and the lack of humility. Because I feel like it's very important to remind yourself of the situation. Because I remember what it was like to be, you know, like even to be, you know, going from driving, say, $150,000 car to having that thing getting jacked up, repossessed, and being like, damn, what am I going to do? Taking the bus now. And like, shit got real, and it got real fast. Yeah. And then having to borrow money from people, you know, like having to borrow money from my best friend and having to go through this. And it's like, dude, that's real. That's reality. Yeah. See, the thing is, humility is probably one of the most powerful skills that you can ever equip yourself with, because when you're humble enough to realize that, hey, man, you know what? It's not all about the materialistic stuff. Like, there's some, like, valuable lessons that I learned along the way.
Well, even what you said to the guy, whether it was taking your car away, like, this is it's interesting because, like, you just took the shittiest thing that could ever like destroy someone, and now you're giving this to people as a way for them to understand the power. I mean, like this, it's about me like talking about my addiction.
Yeah.
And when you get a chance, I mean, can you tell that story about what happened with the car? I want
So listen to this. So I had this. So I was renting out my rooms in my place because I was renting out this place, right? And I'm like, dude, I can't pay my rent. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to do this. So I went to go put an ad on Craigslist, and I went to go rent out my rooms. So it's like I had the 3 bedrooms. I had one of them I was obviously using. Then I had 2 other bedrooms, so I'm going to rent them out. So I had this guy come that I met off the internet, and he was coming for the interview to look at the place. And him and I just so happened to go to the same church, and it was just hilarious. And then he comes down as he's leaving. He comes back, and I get a knock at the door. He's like, dude, there's a tow truck taking your car. I said, it's okay, bro. I called it. It was so embarrassing, right? It was so embarrassing. And then the guys came to the thing, and they're like, they got the paper, and I'm like, I signed the paper. They had the plates.
And what car was this?
It was a BMW 750.
So not a nice car to have repoed.
Yeah. I missed that car, you know, but it's all good. Whatever. You know, the thing is, it was like, they're like, hey, aren't you upset about this? I said, why would I be upset? The car doesn't belong to me anyways. And listen, if it was in God's hands, like I would have the car. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. I wasn't being a good steward of what God gave me. Mm. There was a couple things that I had to learn and realize that, hey, you know what? I wasn't being a good steward. I wasn't taking these talents that I have inside, utilizing them and putting them out to the marketplace. Mm. Now think about that. Let's go back to the seed. What is the seed that you're carrying right now? Because here's the thing. God creates everything with what it is inside of the thing. And I was talking to this with your fiance. I said, you know, think about it. You're a mother. You carried your daughter, and your daughter was sitting right beside her. And I said, look at what was inside of you, and look what she's going to produce.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Later on, because God will always put what something is to become inside of that person for them to convey it out there and bring it out to the world.
Wow.
So if you think about that, what are you carrying right now at this particular moment that you can take and apply out there to the marketplace? Out, not even to the marketplace, but just into life in general.
Right.
Knowing that you're here to make a difference. You're not just here to pay bills and die. You're not here to just breathe up this oxygen that we've been so graciously given by nature. Like you're here to make a difference, right? So when you think about that kind of stuff, you can think like, holy cow, wow, okay, this makes sense. I get it.
So how did this happen? Like what like you've become something, okay? Like I hope you know this. Like like when I'm like, oh, he's a preacher. Like this guy will speak the God word. He'll speak the good word into you. You're a consultant. You help people through business. You help people through life. You help people through tough times. Was this like something you knew you were going to do? Or like, you learned? Because I know personal development's big for you. And God's big for you. And destiny and your fate are big for you. So how do you line these up? Because you have to do them all, right?
You know what? Great question, Bobby. And I'm going to tell you something right now. A lot of time alone. A lot of time by myself. A lot of time like just like, yeah, personal development, man. Just like, I had a vision of like speaking. Anybody that knows me knows for a long time that I'm like, man, I want to go around the world. I want to speak.
I remember that.
People being like, what are you talking about, man? Like,
what are you saying?
I've had people like, you know, I've tried to go and get mentored by people, and they laughed at me. They literally laughed at me. They just here's my business card. Email me. I'm like, what the heck's an email, man? I'm like, I'm here, I'm drowning, and you've got people. No offense, okay? You got people in the church, okay, that I'm sitting there. I'm like, dude, I'm drowning. I need help. I wanted to be mentored, and like, how do I do this? How do I do this? I'm the kind of guy, like, you think of, go back to the cash flow quadrant.
Yeah. How can I?
How can I?
What's the mindset?
You know, the mindset of the person, the mindset of the entrepreneur, the mindset of the go-getter. Dude, we don't say can't. We don't even know that word. We eradicate that from our vocabulary. I think that's worse. I think that's the worst language. The worst word in the English dictionary is can't, because I'm a big believer that there's nothing that there's nothing that can get in your way. Mm-hmm. You get in your way.
True.
Right. So the thing is, it's like I always say, how can I? So here I am drowning. I'm trapped in sexual bondage. I'm trapped in like greed and lust and all this stuff that's low vibrational way of living. See, you're sitting there and you're like, you're not coming from a pure place. You're coming from just this tampered, gross, nasty feeling. I'm stealing things. Like, I mean, I'm just like not living right. And you know what? At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself the question: if your body is the temple, and your body is supposed to be, now, am I going to come up here and say I'm holy? I'm no, far from it. But I'm going to come up here with all humility and say that I'm just trying to be better every single day. That's it. I'm just trying to be better every day. You know what I mean? I'm trying to honor this shell that I've been given. I'm trying to this body that houses my soul. I'm trying to house it so I can use it to make it a better place. You know what I'm saying? So where this all started, I mean, man, lots of tears, man. Lots of like going out there and just being by myself, trying to figure out who I am. Lots of sacrifice. Here's the thing. Your sacrifice is going to be in proportion to the success that you have.
Absolutely.
So the success that you acquire in life is going to be in direct proportion to the level of your sacrifice. Now, if you can start understanding that from that perspective, what kind of things do you need to sacrifice out of your life?
Truth.
Like, I had to go to a point where it's just like I had to sacrifice some things out of my life. I had to sacrifice some people out of my life. Not like literally sacrifice like hardcore, but I mean like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I had to give up my dogs. I had to go and like, I don't know, like I'm an animal lover.
Sure.
Right? And it's like when you gotta give up your animals, man, that's tough. That's tough. That's tough. And when you gotta go and say move back in at mom's house and you're in your 30s, yo, that's tough too.
I've been
right?
there.
But here's the thing, you know what's beautiful? My friend Mitch was telling me, he's like, Steve, why don't you tell people about your, like, how you went from living at home to like, living where you're living now and how you're living now, and just like those little tiny things, like people need to know like that it's possible.
Right.
Like, take Bobby, for example. Bobby was living at home. Bobby was like living in Surrey. Now Bobby's living in a beautiful home, in a beautiful neighborhood, on a beautiful island, with like the ocean literally like 2 minutes away, and it's actually spectacular. Like when I come here, it's like I'm looking around, I'm like, wow, like you guys don't even know the view that's like right outside this window, that's just like overlooking this crazy mountain, and the houses are spectacular. But that just goes to show you what's possible when you start understanding what kind of seeds are you carrying. Are you carrying apple trees? Are you carrying mangoes? Are you carrying pears? Are you carrying cherries? Are you blueberries? I'm not talking about fruit here. I'm talking about the fruit that you have to bring to the world.
Right.
Think about it. What kind of stuff is being cultivated right now at this particular moment in your life where it's like you really need to harness it and figure it out? And that, my friend, comes with taking a lot of time by yourself. Bobby, I would imagine I'm almost, taking a shot in the dark here, but I would imagine that you have taken a lot of time on yourself, alone, in nature, figuring it out, this soul searching.
Yeah.
And when you talk about hearing the voice of God, it's like, dude, like I'm no different from anybody else. We all have the ability to do this.
Sure.
It's like, it just goes to show if we're going to be connected or not.
Right.
You see, a lot of us, we go through life, we're not connected. We don't have the connection. So if you can find a way to get connected, think about what can happen in your life if you're connected. If you can connect and say like, wow, and actually ask questions and then you get an answer. Whoa. Now it's like, hey, should I go to the island? Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, should I send the right person into my life? You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, this guy that you meet a week before. It's like you get navigated through life, and that's the part.
Yeah.
You don't need to go through, like, see, before, back in the day when I first started this spiritual quest, I would have to go to psychics. I would have to go into like a spiritual healer or a spiritual guidance to go and navigate my way through, until I started reading in the book of Deuteronomy. I can't even say this word.
Deuteronomy.
Yeah, Deuteronomy. So I started reading the book of Deuteronomy.
Deuterama.
So I started reading the book of Deuteronomy about that. It's like, that's like, soothsayers and fortune tellers and all this kind of stuff. It's like, dude, it's like that's, something that will take you on a path. And I've experienced that firsthand. Like, I went down a path of being like, dude, My whole life got completely flipped upside down. I'm going down this thinking I'm going down this trail, and I'm literally it went into a path of destruction. So you got to be very, very cautious. You have to have the gift of discernment, because you have to discern, what's coming from God and what's coming from the enemy.
Right.
Because the enemy will come in and tell you all kinds of things to try to get you off your path. Because here's the thing, he's not quite sure of what you have to bring to the world, but he just knows that you're great. He knows you're great. So he's going to try everything in his power to get you off of your course.
True.
Does that make sense? So it's just like, here I was putting my faith in people when I should be putting my faith in God. And when I started putting my faith in God, he started speaking. And I had to literally cut some soul ties in my life, man. I had to do some serious spiritual work, cut some soul ties, and break chains, dude. And I'll be honest, I threw up.
Just curious, when was this in regards to Steve E. Corbett? This is before still.
So this is still so this was about the same. This was after the fact, but this was I was kind of going through this journey, but it was about the same time where I started really purging all this other stuff, because a lot of people will come into your life spiritually and they will say that they're going to help you, but there's always a motive behind it, and it comes back to bite you, right? Because people will be like, oh, I helped you get to where you are. But in fact, no, man. It's here's the thing. You gave guidance, and a lot of this stuff had to come from me.
Yep.
You see, you cannot cause somebody to swim. And perfect example is this. I had a little mentor-mentee relationship, right? And, and when God's going to give you the lesson, you gotta show up.
Yep.
So I was out in the water, right? And we're sitting at the beach, and this is a couple days ago. And we're sitting there, and we're in the water, and this person had a hard time swimming, right? And so the thing is, it's he just gave me the illustration of being hey, okay, this person has a hard time swimming. Go out into the water. So here I am. I'm already dry. I was just swimming. It's a little chilly. It's a little cold. I was comfortable on the beach, but he said, go out to the water. So I went out to the water. I said, so what's going on? Are you going to break this? Are you going to overcome this fear? You're going to overcome this challenge? Because if you don't overcome this, guess what's going to happen? You're going to go back defeated, and a lot of other areas in your life aren't going to be accomplished.
Sure.
So that's what happens. You gotta pass this test. You gotta go through the test, because if you don't go through it, dude, you are going to the rest of your relationships are going to suffer from it. So get this. So we're sitting in the water, right? And I'm like, okay, listen, I'm gonna hold your stomach, okay? You're gonna lift off your feet, and you're gonna push, and just trust me. You're okay. You're not gonna drown, okay? You're not gonna drown. As soon as the feet came off the ground, panic kicks in. Starts going like this, waving the hands, and I'm like, yo, just swim. And I couldn't do it, and just clawing me, I got claw marks on my back here, and I'm just thinking holy this is crazy. And then we come back to the water, to the shore, and I'm just I just don't really understand that concept, right? So here I get back to home, and I'm in the shower, and I'm showering, and then God speaks, and he's like, you see, the reason why I was teaching you that is because when you're mentoring somebody, you can only mentor them to a point of their level. Because if you try to push more than what that person's capable of doing, you're both going to drown. Wow.
Because if you guys were not in...
I'm a strong swimmer.
Yeah.
I can swim. I could swim through a freaking hurricane, man.
Sure.
I'm good. And it's I've never tried that, so don't that's not factual data there. But I'm just saying I'm a strong swimmer. But the point is, even as strong as the swimmer as I am, the person who is drowning will panic and they'll pull you down. So you have to be very cautious about this journey, right?
To help everybody you can.
To help everybody you can.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's all good, but you have to understand that a lot of this journey comes from you. So that's what I was trying to get at. The point I was trying to make at with people giving you spiritual guidance, you can only do so much as a teacher, but the rest has got to come from that person, because they're walking that journey and they're walking that from that level. So that they got to push in and they convey it, so that they got to figure it out on their own. Does that make sense? It's like you can only go so far without having, like, people aren't always going to be there. And some of the times you're going to have to go and you're just by yourself. You're just by yourself. And you know what? You're figuring it out. And that's when the Holy Spirit, that's when the Spirit comes upon you. Right? Because anything that you do, if you're going to do it great, you got to be backed by a Spirit. Like I remember the disciples after Jesus died, right? After Jesus died, the disciples are sitting in a room. And they're freaked out, dude. They're like, dude, we're going to get whacked next. Like, these guys are going to come. They're going to kill us because we followed Jesus. Like we're done, dude. Like, they've just persecuted. They just took our king. They just took our leader. They nailed him to a cross. Like, this is real, dude. Like, they just, like, offed him. He died. And, like, we're in a room right now. We're freaking out. And, like, we're trying to figure out what's going on. Like, what's going down. Jesus comes through the walls, the story says. And they all had their doubts until he showed the hand. And he showed them the hand and the holes. The nails were still in the holes. And, you know, he even took them and he's like, listen, touch it and feel it. And so Thomas, doubting Thomas, went and touched it. He's like, whoa, 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 it's real. And what did Jesus do? He breathed on them the Holy Spirit. He breathed the Holy Spirit on them and equipped them with the Holy Spirit. So then they went out, boom. And then the book of Acts started. Right? So if you think about that, you got to be filled up with a Spirit, you know, in order to go about doing that. So, yes, I feel filled up with the Spirit. So it's like sometimes when I'm speaking, it's like I don't even remember what I said. And it's just like you just let it flow, right? And that's where it's like tuning in and being grounded is so important, because once you start to realize that on that level, now you can start to see how much of an impact that you can have. You ever see somebody play the guitar and they're just like, they're totally lost in the Spirit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. You can have two different kinds of spirits that are empowering you. You can have one that comes from God, and you can have one that comes from Satan. That's the facts. You look at a lot of people that make a contract on their life. I'm going to get deep on this. I'm going to be honest, perfectly honest with you guys, because I've experienced this kind of stuff firsthand. Where you've had to make choices and you've had to have discernment. And this is crazy, okay? So I remember I was in a difficult time right now. Right? And I was going through some very, very challenging moments in my life, okay? And what happened was I was broke. I had no money. My car was literally going to get jacked up. Like I knew, I did not have the money for the car. And then I was just like, I went to this bookstore, and there was this guy, and he was doing readings. And, you know, for like anybody who does like, you know, psychic readings and, you know, tarot cards and all that kind of stuff, right? So I'm sitting there and I sit down with this guy, right? And he goes and he says to me, and this is about 4 years? No, I'd have to say like 3 years ago. 3 years, right? So he goes to me and he's like, listen, after like an hour of talking, right? He's asked me some questions, some pretty deep questions. And he says, because I started talking about my financial situation, he's like, oh, you're having a financial problem. Well, the conversation changed, and it was almost like I was sitting down with Satan himself. It's like there was an entity that literally took form of this guy.
Wow.
And I was like, literally like, and his eyes were like, dude, he was just like locked in. And he's like, well, if you want money and power and fame and fortune and protection and all this stuff, well, this is all you'd have to do. You just do this little ritual. And I'm like, what do you got to do? And he's like, well, we just take your hair and we do something with your hair and we burn it. And like we do a little ritual, but you can't tell anybody about it. And I'm thinking, I'm like, and we're looking at each other for like 2 minutes. And he's like, yeah, you'll have everything in the world. And I'm just like, I don't feel comfortable with that.
Sure.
Because I felt it in my heart like something was wrong. And I'm like,
crazy.
I don't feel comfortable with that, man, at all. And he's like, well, I guess there's nothing I can do for you. Woo! And it was like an energetic push, and fear came upon me. Dude, I was like scared. It was crazy. I'm like, I gotta get the hell out of here.
Weird.
And so I left, and then I was under attack. Bam, 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 bam. And I remember I was doing this real estate exam, and it's like, man, I failed the real estate exam, and things just got worse and worse and worse, and it was like a downhill spiral, and then I ended up losing everything anyways, and it was just like, yeah, dude. And it's just like, you know what? I just stayed true. And then, like, I remember getting back in my car and I just prayed. I'm like, you know, like I started speaking, you know, like the Psalms 91 and just praying, because I've made a lot of foolish decisions. And that was probably one of the foolish decisions that I made, by going and like, you know, relying on other people to try to get something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what I mean about like Jacob and Esau. See, Jacob sold his brother a birthright for a bowl of soup to temporary. You know, so that was me having a temporary situation financially to make a permanent decision. Sell me your soul. So you think about how many people out there, they sell their soul in order to get something. And that's why you look at, like, you know, it's proven. That's like, you look at Bob Dylan. Man, the guy went on an interview. He said that he sold his soul. He went to the crossroads and he made a deal. And you can go on Google. This is not just me talking. Yeah. You can go on Google and you can look it up. Look on YouTube right now and look at, well, not right now. Don't sign out of this interview here, okay? But after you watch this, look on YouTube and go to Bob Dylan, sold his soul. And you'll see, like, the interview where he actually explains what he did.
This isn't a one-off either. Just so anybody knows quickly that there are lists of people who go on record to say this.
Exactly, right? And so this is the point I'm trying to make is this. Somebody approached me and asked me if I wanted to do that. And I said, no, because I feel like I'm a child of God. You know, and that was scary. That was a scary, scary moment. So we talk about these spiritual journeys. And we talk about the journey of what it means in order to do it. And how do you have this sermon? You're going to say, like, wow, you actually said that? You actually told that experience? Because I feel it's important to tell people this experience. Because the thing is, when maybe something like that happens to you, maybe somebody approaches you and they see you, that you're hungry, that you're in need, and that you need something. And yet here we go and we try to give you something that's so good, and you take it and you end up ruining and destroying your destiny.
Oh, man.
And that's what it means. You snatch the seed. So that's what I mean. Like, you get somebody when they're vulnerable. Like, how do lions hunt, Bobby? When they go, they look at all of these gazelles. But what do? Which one do they look for?
The easy ones.
They look for the easy one. They look for the straggler, the one that's not in the herd. They look for the one that's, you know, kind of, you know, they look for the one that's weak. And that's what the Bible says that the enemy walks around like a lion, waiting to devour and looking to seek, kill, and destroy. So the thing is, it's like he's going to jump on that weak one when you're in a vulnerable state to try to snatch your seed. Yeah. So that's what happened to me. And when I talk about breaking off spiritual soul ties, I'm talking about bowing down myself and, like, literally covering myself with the blood of Jesus and just breaking it all off. Right. And then that's what I mean about being tapped in and being like, you know, when you know, man, you're going to follow God regardless. You're going to follow, you know, regardless. You ain't going to give up. You're going to keep pressing towards. Yeah. And you know what? Yeah, did things get bad? Did I have to go move in with my mom? Did I have to, like, go live in a car for a second there? Like, it's all good. Guess what? I kept the course. Yeah. And you know what? The blessings have been pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
I kept the course. I keep on going. Because here's the thing. Life's going to show up for you regardless. Yeah. Whether you like it or not. Life's going to show up. So you got to keep pushing on. And you just got to keep on going. So the day that I realized that, wow, I can actually do this is when I fully submitted. And I fully submitted and I said, like, you know what? I'm not going to try to save my life anymore. I'm going to lose my life.
Surrender.
I'm going to lose my life. And I'm going to pick up my cross and I'm going to walk. And you know what? The thing is, when I started holding that on my shoulder, that's when I started hearing the voice of God. And that's when I started feeling connected to everything and everyone around me.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy to see this. I mean, like, we were even talking this morning about the stuff that's happened between our, like, you know, and our time together. And how much you've grown. And you know, because I speak, right? I do this for people. I host, you know, I'm a numerologist. I work with people. I get it. But the reality is that, like, you've been building content. You've been building your brand. You've been building your voice. You're closer to your dream now of actually speaking for people. You're literally speaking for people. And it's cool to think that, you know, you've gone through this. You've worn your cross and you've absolutely like crushed it, man. Like, we're in the next stages now. I wanted to give you a space. I wanted to make sure that we had this conversation, especially on a day like today. Because a lot of people are dealing with this, and nobody talks about it. Nobody goes out there and talks about the car they get repoed, or about the drug addiction they had, or the time that they had to lose it all and move back in with the parents. Like, it makes us unique because we're like, look, this is what we've been through.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, all things considered, leaning into your chart a little bit, it's going to kind of tell people about your numbers. You have a giant heart, you have a really, really big soul, and then you want to help a lot of people. But in the saying you made this is like, it's not about me. I don't do this for me. I do this to serve. And so there's a disassociation from yourself in that case, where this guy's really great on the mic. He's really good with his, oh man, even look at that, 11-11 right now. So you got to pay attention to what I'm saying here. God, like, not the gods, God, the source, the universe has put you through this path so that when you did stand up, no one could cast that stone against you. That you've known exactly what that had to go through, and it's an honor to watch you speak, man. It's like powerful. We're gonna see this guy on stage, and I'm just gonna be there being like, we were in the same penthouse together. Yeah. We were in the same time zones together as kids, and like, you know, we're sharing war stories here.
That's it, and you know what the thing is? It's like and having a vision, right? Because I have a vision of sold out stadiums.
Oh yeah,
sold out stadiums, literally going out there. And here's the funny thing is, man, you'll never know who you'd say. So here's the thing, like I told myself, remember going back to that guy that I asked for, you know, mentorship, and he gave me his business card. He's like, kind of blew me off, and he's just like, here to email me kind of deal. I told myself, I said, you know what? When somebody comes to me,
I will email him.
No, no, but I said that when somebody comes to me and they ask me for mentorship, I'm not going to turn that person away.
Yeah.
And one of the craziest things was, like, I met this guy, and his name was Pastor Sam. All right, and Pastor Sam Awusu.
Yeah.
And you know what? This man changed my life. This man plugged me into, like, he introduced me to mentors. Solid, man.
Yeah.
And you know what the thing is? He's been a phenomenal teacher, phenomenal coach, somebody, an actual phenomenal leader, somebody that I can say, hey, I submit myself underneath his leadership. And you know what the thing is? It's good, because here's the thing: you got to submit yourself to somebody.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna really grow, you gotta be obedient.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta be obedient. Look at Nehemiah, for example, in the Bible. Nehemiah, who, if you guys aren't familiar with the book of Nehemiah, highly recommend reading it. It's a book on godly leadership. It's powerful. It's like, it's nuts. Go to the Bible, get Nehemiah, look at it, read it. It's awesome. But Nehemiah, to give you the gist of the story, was Nehemiah was a cupbearer for the king. Okay? So a cupbearer, meaning, like, if this was for the king, I would have to test it before the king drank it. Meaning I would have to test it, because back in the day they would poison it, right? I hope Bobby didn't poison my water, but you know, whatever. But here's the thing, you got to test it, right? So you test the water and then you give it to the king. Well, that's what Nehemiah's job was. But Nehemiah was from Jerusalem, where his father was. And his town was being completely burned. The walls of Jerusalem were completely crumbled down. The enemy was in there, and they were having their heyday with people. People were being raped. People were being killed. Like, it was bad. And so his heart mourned. And he prayed to the God of heaven. It was funny, because every single time, Nehemiah was a man of faith. He was a man of prayer. Before he made a decision, he prayed. The Bible said he prayed to the God of heaven. You know what I'm saying? There's different levels of gods. You know what I mean? There's different level of God, but there is only one God, and you gotta say it. That's why people say the Most High, the Most High God, meaning He's the Most High God. You know what I'm saying? He prayed to the God of heaven, and he saw that the walls of Jerusalem were being broken down, so he went to go build and establish a team of people to build the wall. They were fighting off the enemy with one hand, and they were building with the other. You know what I'm saying? And it's a powerful, powerful story of how you can build these walls around your life. Now, we did a course called the Rites of Passage, and the Rites of Passage was a men's group that I got plugged into through the church. And that was basically a group that, number one, we went through Proverbs, and we went through the book of Nehemiah. And we found out what it meant to be a godly leader, what it meant to stand. That was actually a turning point in my life, where I started putting away things like, you know, when you were a child, you thought like a child, but when you became a man, you put away childish things. Right? So what kind of childish things do you have right now that you got to put away that are preventing you from going to the next step of your life? Think about that.
Ouch.
Think, like, what kind of childish things are you doing right now, whether it's still, trapped in your old ways, trapped in the paradigm, trapped in this habitual behavior that's preventing you from achieving these things that are, that are going to change the game for you, right? And you may be stuck right now, and the reason why you're stuck is because you're stuck. Get that? You are stuck. See, life is wanting you to move. You're not waiting on God to do something. God's already done it. He's the author and the finisher of your life. You are already created from the beginning to the end, from the end to the beginning. It's all done. Your life has already been lived. Does that make sense? Like, you are already completed. There is nothing that doesn't get completed and created without the end game in it. See, the thing is, I'm feeling right now, Bobby and I were sitting in chairs. Now, the people, the manufacturer of the chair, they already had the concept. They're like, we're going to design the chair the way we want to do it. We're going to design it. And guess what? Now, Bobby and I are fulfilling the end game result of the chair. Just like when you were created, there was already an end game result for your life. So you got to think, why aren't you walking into it? Why aren't you tapping into it? It's already done. And we hold the keys that are locking us into our own prison that we put ourselves into.
Wisdom, man.
And we put this prison through some of this childish behavior that we do. The masturbation, the lust, the porn, the addictions, the anger, relationships, the ego. Like, all of this stuff that is preventing us from moving forward.
Right.
So when we went through this course, and we end up getting these bricks, right? And on these bricks, they're like little white bricks, and they basically remind us of the wall. And one of the faces of the brick isn't painted. So it's like, it just symbolizes that we're always going to be building. And we always got to be building up these walls around our lives, around our family, around our business, because the enemy will come in. And if you do not have that wall built up, the enemy comes in like a floodgate. Next thing you know, you're way off your course.
So what do you use to build your walls? You got some personal development, you listen to stuff, prayer.
Yeah, prayer.
What's on your list of stuff that people need to do if they want to get their walls built around their lives?
You know what? Prayer. Taking that time to get grounded, because there's no problem that you have. You just think you have a problem.
Truth.
And so the thing is, it's like it's our mental faculty that provides the problem. Like, we think we have a problem, so we're going to have a problem. And here's the thing. It's like, when I talk about prayer, I'm talking about, like, not these prayers that, your mom and dad taught you in, a little Sunday class and, like, all these, like, reciting prayers. No, I'm talking about just having a relationship and talking. Just the same way I'm talking right now, you're talking to your creator. You're talking to your source. You're talking to your God that gave you life. And you're asking and talking and just being like, poof, letting the floodgates open and pouring into. So when you start plugging into power like that, your life will change. When you start understanding the sacrifices that you have to make in order to get to where you need to be, knowing that you're living your life on purpose, with a purpose, and the intent for your life is to make a difference. Here's a perfect thing. If you weren't here to make a difference, you would not be here. Period. You're not just here breathing up wasted space. Get this idea out of your head that you don't have the resources, that you don't have the friends, that you don't have the connections, that you're living in the wrong thing. Get that foolishness out of your head. Woo. That's what I mean about you. When you think as a child, you're going to remain a child. But when you become a man, I'm not just talking about the men here, I'm talking about the women too. When you become that, you put away all those childish things. Get those ideas out of your mind that you're never going to be nothing, that you're not going to make it. You are going to make it, and you have power inside of you right now to tap into. And all you have to do is get into a quiet place, in a place of solitude, that you can seek out who you truly are. And not only who you are, but whose you are. When you fully submit to that, then you're going to have breakthrough. Woo. You're going to have power. And that's where the power comes through. The power comes through having that breakthrough. So that's just as simple as it is, right? See, the thing is, if you try to save your life, you're going to end up losing it. And I mean, save on to like all these things. Save on to the money. Save on to all this kind of stuff. Save on to the belief. But you're going to end up losing it because you're never going to live your life. But if you lose your life and you say, you know what? No, I give it all to you. God, just use me. I give it all to you. Guess what's going to happen? Guess what's going to happen? Actually, it's not what you don't have to guess. You already know what's going to happen because you create it.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely, so super powerful. And for those, I mean, for me, I can translate this message because I have a Christian faith, I have a spiritual faith, I have a Buddhist faith, I have a lot of different faiths in my life. And when he's speaking this power, it's this understanding of committing to the universal force, that godlike power that works through you. Because love is a really big motivating factor,
Oh, yeah.
especially as a life path 9. He's got a giant heart and a heart that sees the world and sees the universe. So to know that you're speaking into that power and with such charm, I mean, come on, guys, let's drop some comments. I mean, you watching this, if you're live or you're on the replay, drop some, like, people are saying amazing, absolutely incredible, speaking to my soul right now, truth, preach it. Like, there's people understand what you're saying because you decided to walk through that path of going through the shitty things in life to actually get to the better places where you need to go. So super inspiring.
Yeah. And here's the thing. It's just like, it all goes back to the whole. It all goes back to where it starts.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of the times, like, a lot of these holes, we don't even realize that a lot of these holes are like things that happened in our childhood. Think about it. Think about, like, see, I'm 35. I'm going to be 36 in March. And, I had to look back at my life and I had to see what kind of holes were in my life that were preventing me from, like, why was I getting the results I was getting? Yes, I know that I didn't have alignment with my name and all that kind of stuff, but that's only so far. Yeah. That's only so far. I'm talking about, like, some experiences that happen. Like when you're riding your bike, and you had a brand new horn that your parents got you, and you had that little horn on the thing, and, like, the neighborhood retard gets your bike, and he goes and he drives it, and he crashes it and breaks your brand new horn. You know what I mean? And you didn't grow up rich. It's not like you can go and buy another one. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like, you think about those little tiny things. I don't know why I just thought about that. I just thought about that now. You know what I mean? I wasn't even thinking about that. I just thought about that now. Think about, like, this. I remember I was in grade 7, and I got egged on the last day of school by these guys who I thought were friends. Eggs. They cracked, like, eggs over my head, and, man, I remember running home crying. Think about that.
Crazy.
So then I went through this part in my life where it's just like, I was like, I'm never going to let somebody do that to me ever again. So I'm going to be tough, I'm going to be strong, and I'm going to punch people out, and I'm going to fight. And that's what I did. And I ended up getting expelled from school in grade 9. I ended up going from school to school to school because I kept on getting kicked out. And the reason why I kept on getting kicked out is because I had this mindset. Then I ended up going into selling drugs. I went down a path of selling drugs for many, many years, for 15 years almost, until I was, like, from 15 to the time I was 30. I was selling drugs, marijuana and cocaine. And, the thing is, it's like, and I was doing that for a long time and almost lost my life doing it. And by God's grace, I'm still here. But here's the thing, it wasn't until I was about 32 that I started getting clear on my past. A friend of mine, his name's Mitch, good guy, you know Mitch. He did something really cool, but he bought me this ticket. Right? He bought me this ticket to this personal development course, and it was all weekend long, right? And it was like a course. He's like, dude, I did this course. It's freaking nuts. He's like, you got to do it. So he spends like $800. He gets me a ticket and, like, totally surprises me, right? He's like, hey, I bought you a ticket. So I went and I did it. I did the course. Shit, man, that changed the game for me. You know what I'm saying? Because I was able to get clear on my past. Because it was like I never thought about it before. I never thought about these things that hurt me. But I never thought about the tears. I never thought about the emotion. I never thought about, why I treated women the way I treated. Because I went back to when I was 14. I almost wanted to kill myself because I had this girl that I was totally in love with, and she cheated on me and just completely destroyed me. The first girl I ever loved. Yo, dude. So you think about it. And now I'm sitting there, and now I'm going through life, and I got this, like, like, ice over my heart, and I'm never opening up my heart to love people. So I'm treating the women that I'm with like shit.
Right.
So I never get clear until I got clear, be like, wow, I got to remove all of this stuff so I can love again.
Right.
And then it came from being able to love myself, not in an egotistic way, but just being able to love who I am.
Yeah.
So I can love others. And that's where things started to change, by getting clear on the past.
This is super profound, man. Like you're speaking pages straight out of my book, and like it's nice to see that we've gone through the same things in life, because it's nuts. I got egged, I got cheated on, like I wanted to kill myself, like I got into drugs too, like all this stuff. And that's one of the reasons why I was like, oh, we have to link this thing up, because I need people to hear your passion, to hear what you've been through, because you're on your way up, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we all are. Every single person even on this call, every single person that's listening right now, you are going places. It may not look like it right now, but you're going somewhere that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard the things that God has in store for you. Totally. And if you just stay focused on the things that I'm telling you, man, you stay focused on these amazing, man. Oh, dude, you don't even know. This is crazy. Right? And being at service, man, things started happening when I just started being at service for people. I got to a point where it's just I stopped being motivated by money, and I just started being motivated. How can I help this person? How can I be at service to this person? Even right now, we ain't getting paid, but we're just doing this because we love doing this. So in a sense, I guess we get paid because we get the payoff. The payoff is what we're doing, what we love. Yep. Right? So
this creates wealth.
So it creates wealth on a different level, because
spiritual wealth.
Yeah, there's different levels of wealth.
Yeah.
Right? There is the
money, finance.
There is the financial aspect of wealth. Then there's the spiritual wealth. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Then there's the wealth of going out to the forest, where it's just I'm sure that's what we're gonna do in a little bit here. Go outside and go out in nature and just go and I know it sounds kind of funny, but just to hug a tree or something like that. Because it's you think about that. And when I talk about being connected, it's you feel it, man. Going to the ocean and putting your feet in the ocean and just oh man, feeling connected to this beautiful, wonderful creation that we're all a part of right now. In this moment, we're all a part of it. We're all connected, whether you like it or not. Even the guy down the street that pisses you off, even the person that that owes you money. Guess what? They're all your greatest teachers. And so when you understand that, think about your family, for example. What about your parents, your mom, your dad? A lot of people don't get along with their parents. They don't get along with their siblings. But what if that person was your greatest teacher on a soul level? Absolutely. And that was the person that you had to get clear with so that you can move forward. Yep. Because you have to understand, you have to realize that you gotta get the gift. The gift is in the teaching. Right. The gift is in the lesson. And if you don't jump over the hurdle, and you really get it, you're just going to continue to be stuck in this rhythm until you get the lesson. True. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's so super powerful.
It's so powerful.
Yeah, man.
And because that's where transformations happen. If you want to have a transformation in your life, you have to get clear on who you are. Seriously, you got to get clear on the baggage. You got to
assess the damage.
We are going through life and we're holding this bag. And inside of this bag are these spiky balls, right? They're these spiky balls, and they're really hard to pick up. And the thing is, sometimes you gotta look into that bag, and you gotta pick up the one that's the hardest to carry. And if you can pick up that one and release it, well, then you're getting stuff out of your bag. And that's it. You can go through life, man, and just have this stuff that's gonna haunt you for the rest of your life. Or you can go out there and you can make the rest of your life the best of your life. And that's why making a transformation is so powerful. That's why going out there and doing something, positive with your life is so powerful. Because, man, you ain't just here just to go and soak up space, man. You're here to make a difference. And I can stress that until I freaking die. I'll be on my deathbed saying, hey, you're here to make a difference. And you know what the thing is? Because that's my message. Yeah. And I believe that. And so it's just finding your message and sticking to it is and Bobby knows that. Bobby knows the person, but this guy, he can take, so he's gifted. He can take your name and he can tell you everything about your life.
Well, I was just about to say that because, you're talking about your story and I'm sitting here in awe being I know what he's talking about. I know his numbers for global service. I know your number for a king in Prince clothing. There's a value of you that wants to lead and take care and change and shift. And then it's wrapped in the human experience where you have to go through your own curriculum of stuff that you've been through in order to actually stand on top of that. And I'm looking back at his number, I'm man, you've got a destiny. You have a fate to share this. The real wealth, you don't take your money with you. Like you don't, when you're done, you're done. Like you can't quickly build your pile of materialistic things. The wealth you truly speak in is the stuff that you're not going to get clock in, clock out paid for. It will result in financial wealth. Yep. You doing this will result in your financial solidarity and sovereignty growing for you as a bonus thank you for being a steward of the planet and helping the evolution of people consciousness grow to the next level. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh right, we're not getting paid for this. We don't need to. What you need to do is do this so that more and more people can see it. And I hope you were inspired to never ever freaking give up on that.
No, man, because here's the thing. Like, thanks for putting that into perspective too. Because I want to clarify something. I'm not doing it necessarily for I'm doing it for the next generation. Remember what I talked about God puts inside of you something what it is to become.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm a father. You're a father, right? My son's gonna be 16 in October. Okay, I'm pretty freaking proud about that. That's actually pretty cool. But the thing is, it's like I'm thinking about his generation. Think about his kids. Think about his kids' kids. I'm talking about the lineage.
That's crazy.
Now, when you have this like king lineage, you're gonna be pouring in. Look at the seed of Abraham. Out of the seed of Abraham, Moses was derived from that. Moses ended up releasing the children from Israel out of bondage, out of slavery. That was all come from the seed of Abraham. The seed of Abraham was Jesus. It's all the same lineage.
That's crazy.
So when you think about that, like it's not about let's not get so caught up and hyped up on us. Start thinking about them. And when I talk about them, I'm talking about your bloodline. I'm talking about what kind of difference that you can make as a whole collective of what you came here to do. See, there's a lot of times that's going to happen in your family that, like, man, some things happen and you just get stuck. Next thing you know, you aren't your parents. I'm just going to solidify that right now.
Okay.
You aren't your parents. You aren't your past ancestors. You aren't that. Because a lot of the times what happens is we can get trapped in a paradigm. There's a lot of spiritual stuff that happens in our lineage.
Sure.
Meaning the seed gets snatched. But you don't have to have your seed get snatched. You don't have to have your seed get completely taken away from you.
Right.
You can protect that seed by planting that seed in good ground.
Even numerologically speaking, you hold your dad's middle name. Your middle name is your dad's name.
Yep.
You named that to your son as well. I did the same thing to my kid. We literally imprint and implant the same vibrations that have been placed that our ancestors or our forefathers have been using. Yeah. And it's a symbol of pride for us to be like, I'm putting my signature on this. He's got my last name, he's got my name. Yeah. And we put that together because we're egoic beings. When we look at our children, we're like, we did this, we created something, we created life. And that's one of the biggest joys, being a father. It's crazy to think we're the same age and our sons are like 15 and a half years apart.
Yes, yeah,
you got started young there, brother.
I found out I was going to be a father when I was 18.
Jeez. See, I remember being 18 wanting to be a dad. It just never happened. Like, that's the difference. Isn't that crazy? And you're just like, oh, man. That wasn't what I was expecting at 18. And me at 18, I'm like, oh, man, why does it happen to Steve? And I want a son. And, I wait till I'm 33 in order to figure it out. I'll tell you something.
One of the best things that ever happened to me was becoming a father. And I remember what, like it was yesterday when I was in the hospital. And, man, I cried. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I hear you hear your children cry for the first time.
It's profound.
I mean, it's an experience that every single man and woman need to experience on the face of the planet, because that is literally the essence of life. But the biggest takeaway from that is the responsibility that it takes in order to really understand that you are a parent. And the thing is, there's people looking up to you. And now it's like I've got, these guys who are, 15, 16 years old. They're all looking at me. They're seeing my Snapchats. They're seeing the Instagram. They're seeing videos. They're seeing and the funny thing is, it's like Caleb's friends, none of his buddies' dads are doing what I'm doing. Yeah. So they think, they're like, wow, your dad's got this crazy lifestyle. It's got this cool life. And you know what? Yeah. I try to navigate my life around actually having a lifestyle rather than going to a job.
Right.
Because going to a job like everybody else just doesn't work.
No.
Right? So it's like you got to create and cultivate your gifts.
Yeah.
So I try to teach. What I want to do is I want to set up a little program with these younger cats and get them together, because there's a big crew of these guys.
Cool.
And putting them together and teaching them the skill set that we never learned when we were young.
Hey,
you know, like
I like this.
like the business management, and what to do with the dollar, what to do with spirituality, and what to do with finding your power and finding your power voice and communication and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like really like lining these guys up so that they can do some crazy things.
Right.
So what we started doing was like they put together a little Snapchat group, and I was like, yeah, cool, man, let's go and let's link up. Now, like Mitch and I are gonna go and link up with these guys and start pouring into them. Why? Because it's
Kids.
like, what I mean?
Kids.
Yeah, it's like 15,
16. Wow.
Like my son and all his buddies, right?
That's so cool, dude.
So the thing is, it's like it just goes to show you what's possible. The people are always watching you.
That's
even
nuts.
when you don't even think that people are watching you, people are watching you.
Yeah.
So the influence that you have on other people when you're not even aware of it.
Wow.
Right? So, and it doesn't even matter about a physical person watching you. God sees everything. And you cannot lay your bed in hell without him seeing it. You got that? So it's like, whatever you're doing, there's always eyes. And I do believe that he is the God of love, but, he's also the God of, there's a God of
justice.
There's a God of justice too, right? And so the thing is, you're going to have to, this is a part of the journey.
Yeah.
We are the ones who have, here's the thing, we have will. Mm-hmm. And that's the will that the enemy can't take from us and God can't take from us. We have the free will to do what we have. We have the will to decide. We have the will to make the choices in order to better us or destroy us. And you know what? I hope and I pray today that, you choose to better your life. You choose to make a difference and make global impact. Because you know what the thing is? Life is short and it's gone in a snap of a fingers. Man, I never saw myself being 35 years old. Hey, that's young compared to there's some people probably watching this video right now. They're like, man, I'm 70 years old. Shut the, you know what I mean? And that's what it is, right? Because here's the thing. But that 75-year-old guy's probably thinking, he's probably saying the same thing. Never saw myself being 75, but here I am.
Yeah.
Point I'm trying to make is life goes by quick.
Yeah.
And it seems like the older you get, the faster it goes. So today, where you got to make those choices in your life, where you got to put away those childish things. Because there's some things right now that you're doing that are holding you back from where you really need to be, where you were created to be. And if you were to just get laser focused on that and figure out exactly what it is that you want to do. And that's why it's so important to have a vision. The Bible says that the people perish for a lack of a vision. They don't have a vision, so they don't know exactly where they're going to go. So any which direction takes them there. And that's why we spend so much time focusing on getting a job, focus on looking at this, looking at careers and career changes and all that kind of stuff. Because you weren't created for a job. You were created for a thriving passion inside of you that needs to be released to the world. Right. The fruit. And instead of focusing on your job, why don't you focus on your fruit and bring your fruit to the world? Because it's the fruit that's going to feed people. Because they come to you for the fruit that you carry. They don't come to you for you. And that's the reason why people get depressed and why people fall into anxiety and loneliness and suicide and all these other things and addiction. Because people get so messed up because when people stop coming to them for them, when the song gets old, when the message gets old, then the people leave. And they wonder why. That's why actors and all that kind of stuff, you always deal with these with suicide. You see all these guys, they'd there's an epidemic because people are dying and they're going in addiction, all that kind of stuff because people stopped listening to their music. And they didn't realize that they were coming for the gift. They weren't coming for them. So get it out of your head. They're not coming for you. They're coming for your gift. So that's the point I'm trying to make is this. You've got something inside of you that when you bring to the world that people need. They want your seed. They want your fruit. Yes, you're a nice person. You're talkable. You're there. But that's part of your gift. They ain't coming for you. They're coming for your gift. So convey that to the world. Get super clear on what it is that your story is and cultivate that story and utilize that story in every single thing that you're doing because it's the story that's going to enroll people that want to do business with you because they do business with the people that they know, they like, and they trust.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you build those 3 principles, you'll be successful.
Absolutely, man. Look at these comments, Jay. Like, thank you both so much for sharing. Thank you for all this value. I knew this was gonna happen. I'm like, man, you can go off for an hour, can't you? Like, no worries. And
man, we can talk for hours.
We're gonna do this for the rest of your life. And even to the point now where you're taking young kids, and I'm like, what soul work is that? You know, like when you actually take your son's generation and help them move forward in their life, like. You gotta be proud of that. Like that's being a father to one, a father to many, and father to all.
Yeah.
But leaning back on your numbers, man, you have the spiritual height to see the universe and not just to see your own piece and part of it. It's on the opposite end. There's just so much humility that having a life path number like that or in that direction allows you to really want to make an impact, a difference, to change the world somehow. And I have faith that you'll do it. By the wit of your charm and the size of your heart and the power that you give, it's crazy to know where we've come from and to see what we've done in a short amount of time. This is the last time for sure. But people are going to want to work with you.
Yeah, well,
they're going to want to work with you, and people on my stage usually get a chance to work. Reason why I wanted to put him on here was because I wanted to share with people an ability to enlist you as a coach, to enlist you as a mentor. I know you're not cheap. But you are worth it. That's the reality.
Yeah.
So if you're wanting to reach out to Steve, if you need to get the good word, he'll assess where you're at because you've been through some stuff. So you can kind of scan through and call the bullshit where it is, and then plug in the program that someone needs to plug in. So how do you like people connecting with you? It's just Facebook?
You know what? You can just message me through Bobby or message me through Facebook. I mean, either which way. Like, I'm not too hard to find. You can add me on Facebook, Steve E. Corbett, Corbett. Like I said, like my whole mission is just to be here to really equip you guys with the tools necessary for you to get through life and for you guys to come out on top.
And you're not new at this. You've been doing this. You go to this guy's Instagram, you go to this guy's social media. He's already providing content value on a daily basis for you to stay motivated. You follow this guy, you set him on your news feed. It is a wonderful, powerful daily motivation to listen to.
Yep.
You're not new to the game right now.
No.
Like you're sharpening what power you have on the inside.
Yep.
And hey man, I'm glad you've been paying your dues because look where you're at.
Well, it looks like we got some nice sunshine to go to the beach.
How much? Where are we at for time? We got another about 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Yeah,
okay. So as far as like questions go, you know what? I feel like right now the number one thing that is going to help you in a major way, and every single person for the audience here. Number one thing, purity. If we strive, and I'm not gonna stay here and say like this is a work even on myself. So this is a collective conversation here. Purity. If we strive for purity, joy, love, happiness, peace, forgiveness, you know what I'm saying? And we start like really indulging in that, we're gonna have breakthroughs beyond our wildest imagination. And that's so true. Because as soon as we start focusing on worry, anxiety, fear, doubt, start falling into sin can weigh on our souls, man. It can be a heavy burden. Puts us in a very low vibration. And we're unable to move forward. So if we can get that out of our way and we can just focus on those things that are important, we have breakthroughs in our life. Complete shattering, earth-shattering breakthroughs. That's what it is. And I remember just like some of the happiest moments in my life was when I was like taking the bus and I'd be like sitting there with my backpack and I'd just be like walking. I'd be singing, man. I'd be like, just singing.
And I just took my car. I gotta take the bus.
I'd be singing like praises to God, man. I'd be singing like there's this song that we sing in the rites of passage, right? And so we had 23 men, and by the chorus was done, we had 12 because people drop out. It's an intense course. I literally had to like go out to the mountains and go and take my buddy on my back and run him up the mountain. It was like a very military style God leadership course. Some guys were throwing up.
Wow.
Like this guy, we were jogging up the road and he's like, I can't do it. And we're like, push. And he's like, bah! It was insane. But it was an experience. And we want to talk about experiences like that because it's like some of this accountability, it's like when you have a group that's accountable, that you can have, somebody that's going to lift you up when you're down.
Yeah, true that.
Your brother's going to be like, hey, Bobby, come on, you can do it. So basically what we did was this. You would have to be on my back. I'd be running. And the rest of the group is telling me how much of a failure I am. You're a failure. You're going to drop him. And your buddy on your back is like, don't listen to him, man. Just keep going. Keep going. Keep pushing, man. Keep pushing. You can do it. You can do it. And you're like, you're sweating. You're hot. You're like, you feel like you're literally like your legs are going to give up. You got like a 200+ pound person on your back and you're jogging them up up a gravel inclined mountain.
Jeez.
While everybody else is telling you you're going to drop them.
Wow.
It's insane. It's intense. And so it's like...
Pastor Sam, not kidding around.
No, this was a guy by the name of Mark Washington. So Pastor Sam introduced me to Mark Washington.
Okay.
Mark Washington was the defensive coach for the BC Lions.
Okay.
But he just so happened to be...
of the faith.
He just so happened to be a brother. Oh, buddy, like it's on fire, man.
Yeah.
Yo, Mark Washington's crazy, man. Like that guy, like... He takes us through another level of like what it means to be a man of faith. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because he said like, yo, you got to be strong enough. If something happened, if an accident happened, that you'd be able to have to pick up your wife, pick up your kids, and run them out of a burning building. You know what I'm saying? If something happened, if something popped off, you got to be a man and be man enough to pick up your wife, pick up all your kids, and be able to like run them out of a burning building. That was the whole concept of why we picked up a 200+ pound man and ran him up a mountain.
Right.
It was insane. And so like that whole course was like basically built on the premises of brotherhood. And what it means to be a man. And so like I've got like these guys that we reach into, and every single guy who's been through the rites of passage knows what's up. I mean, there could be some guys watching the play right now, rites of passage, you know what I mean? Like we're like the Marines, you know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Right? So
well, it's crazy because you're seeing this stuff, and like I remember the community that we created. I know the community that you guys are a part of. I know the different parts and pieces that show up that are thinking like I relate to this story. I know where this thing has been. I've been there. I've thrown up on the mountain. I remember like like that experience in my life, and it's so super cool, man, to think that we all experience this.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Whether or not you answer the call or not.
Well, sometimes it's like you gotta like when we talk about throwing up. I mean, people are probably like, "What are you talking about?"
Like literally throwing up.
Like literally throwing up. Like okay, so like are we clear that everything is energy, right?
Sure.
Everything is energy. Whether you like it or not. I mean, you can tell me that fire doesn't burn you and stick your hand in it, and you can tell yourself that you're not burnt, but whatever.
Yeah.
Everything is energy, right? There's negative energy, there's positive energy. There's the light, there's the dark, there's the north, there's the south. Everything has duality. You have to understand that you're not going to have one without the other.
Right.
Right? So you're going to have light, but even in light, you cast a shadow. We all have this shadow that we have to deal with within ourselves. The yin, the yang. Okay? There's so many different ways that people
quantify this information.
Yeah, exactly, right? So the funny thing about this is this. In the spirit realm, it's like we have to cleanse ourselves. When I talk about purity, we have to like learn how to lay hands on ourselves. Meaning like when I pray, I feel electricity coming from my hands. Even right now, when I hold my hands up like this, I feel electricity to the point where it's like the hairs on my hands are like standing up. I'm just like a conduit of like this
God light,
this God source that's coming in.
Yeah.
And what I do usually, like when I'm having a difficult day, I'll take that time to meditate, but at the same time, I will literally take my hands and I will run them over this, and I will just whatever's not coming from God, I will ask it to remove itself. And I cover myself with the blood of Jesus. And I just literally like, I'll grab right here and I'll just be like, whoo. And I'll be like, I feel it go through.
Wow.
And whatever it is. And if something's not coming from God, it's coming up. Either I'm burping or I rip it up.
Oh, that's so cool.
And the thing is, because you got to constantly be cleansing it out. You got to constantly be cleaning yourself. Because if you're going to attract the things you want to attract into your life, you got to get rid of the garbage. You got to get rid of the baggage, the stuff that's going to weigh you down. It goes back to the beach. Remember, we were talking about the beach, about, teaching somebody how to swim. Well, that may not be a necessary person that you're mentoring, but that could be energy too. And that pulling you down, it will pull you down if you do not rise up above it.
Mm-hmm.
And your light is so bright that it will even illuminate the darkest of rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about that. Light will always overpower everything else. The love always overpowers everything else.
Right.
And even if you're around negative people, like sometimes you're around negative people, you're just like, oh, like I'm sitting there fired up. I just like come from a prayer session. I'm just sitting there in the SkyTrain and I'm sitting beside somebody, and you can feel the negativity when you're sitting beside somebody, and you can feel that that's making them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right? You
Yeah.
can feel it. You can pick up on it.
Yeah.
And you can feel like they're just feeling like they're like, oh, it's like really painful for them, right?
Yeah.
Because the light casts, and it's like, amen. It's like when the Spirit of God is inside of you, and like the Spirit of God's inside every single person. But when you really tap into that,
Yeah.
now you're tapping into some power.
Yeah.
When you start to let it flow through your life, and now you can start, you know what I mean, doing your thing. That's like where things get really cool.
Can you imagine yourself in 20 years? Like, I'm talking like straight up, 55 years old. This guy's got a head full of white hair. He's like the Bob Proctor of like 2030. And then like, it's gonna be crazy. Like, I know, I can see you. I keep on getting these visions of you on stage and us. We changed the world, man. We've done something to it.
Yeah.
That made it in a better place than where we came in from it.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a long time, and even like from us to be 5 years. 5 years I started this journey. Get that? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
5 years I started this journey.
And the things we used to say, you know, I'm going to be on stage. I know I'm going to do it. And we were like super rah-rah. Now it's almost like that. Whoa. Like it's taking its course now.
Yeah.
I remember giving this guy the E in his name, and I'm like, we're building something here. We're talking about his business name. We're building something here. We're going to make something happen. And this is like the smell from the apple pie. This is like the future of the vision of what you got. I thank you, dude.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate you so much for being here.
Guys,
Stevie Corbett.
we hope you guys have a very blessed day. And if there's any questions, if there's anything that you guys need help with, don't hesitate to be a stranger.
Yeah.
You know?
I've known this guy for a while. Follow him on social media. I've seen your live. Some of my friends are watching this, so I know we have the same networks and the same audience. But if you don't know about him, now you know. Stevie Corbett, he's a powerful mentor, an absolute like spiritual coach. You are like the word of God in person form. And I cherish your friendship. I cherish your wisdom. You know, what you've done and what you teach me and the conversations you had with me and Sally. I'm like, he's a wealth of information. Whether you work with him or you just follow him, there is light at his table. And so if you're looking for that, then, you know, I suggest you absolutely connect with this guy for sure. You got Hearts coming up here, incredible people. This is really cool. I appreciate you guys. Drop your thank yous. We've got about maybe 5 minutes before we're going to go. Any questions at all, guys? Can you drop some value? If you're watching this live, I'd love to read your comments while we're still here to let you guys know. I mean, like, he's just poured his heart out onto you guys. And I'd love to hear your biggest takeaways, the things that you've been experiencing. You know, do you have a question? You know, your thanks, just gratitude, just giving love. What are you going to work on? How are you going to make your life better? What are you going to do with this information? Is this going to be the day that you actually build something so freaking powerful for yourself that, you know, your future will thank you for it? And, you know, I like to keep certain people in my life for a reason. And this guy is absolutely one of the people I'm going to have, you know, inside of my life forever. So absolutely
100%.
appreciate you for sure, dude. And it's been an honor and a blessing and a pleasure. I know there's a bit of delay, and some people here are just going to be stunned. They're just going to be like, I don't even know what to say.
Hey, you know what? Let's call it there.
Okay, cool.
And you know what? We're going to enjoy the beautiful day, and I hope you guys enjoy the beautiful day. And it's been an absolute pleasure. And you know, just remember the fact that you're blessed right now where you're at. You know, you don't have to necessarily look at, you know, we can get so caught up on, you know, the things of where we're going, but just remember right now, at this particular moment in your life, you're blessed, completely blessed. You have every single thing that you need right now. And I'll just leave that at that. So thank you guys. Enjoy your day and lots of love.
Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great day, great night, wherever you are, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.